It's a Taste to Consider podcast. Yes, we're back for another episode. Let me officially introduce the show. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Derek Silver, and we're back. Back for another episode. Yes, indeed. The energy is just, yeah, my energy is up there right now. My energy is up there right now. I had an epic pregame. Epic pregame. I started off with some what I started off with some fabulous, and then it just turned into a epic G Unit pregame. You know what I'm saying? It just flowed into a G Unit. When I pregame, I just pop on the YouTube on the TV down in the tasting room and just let the music flow. Sometimes I have certain things in mind that I know gonna get me hype if my energy is down, but today I just let it flow, and that jump flowed into G Unit, and I just kept it flowing. Yes, a Taste to Consider podcast. Um, Me playing music in the beginning of the show started from Unproductive and Unapologetic podcast. Shout out to the UNU Network, 3 stars, 2 bars, um, reservation for three, um, separate the two podcasts, unprocessed knowledge. Shout out to all the podcasts that's part of the UNU Network. Check those podcasts out. Once again, that's separate the two podcasts on all streaming services, reservation for three on all streaming services, unprocessed knowledge on all streaming services, and 3 stars, 2 bars on all streaming services. Yes, indeed. It all started back then, and we got the inspiration from, you know what I'm saying, the Joe Budden podcast. I remember, like, and it's just me, just talking at this moment. It's not even part of the outline. But I remember when we first was like in the group chat back in 2016, and that was around the time when Drink Champs podcast was like the podcast, like that was the podcast. Joe Budden podcast was around that time, but everybody was talking about Drink Champs. But Joe Budden podcast has shot up quickly, and around like 2017, that's when we started the UNU podcast, Unproductive and Unapologetic, and just to have play the music, you know what I'm saying, in the intro of the show, just gave us a little extra boost and stuff like that. And it's funny because like a lot of times when I'm thinking of songs to play for the intro of the podcast, I started out having like the intro song have something to do with the actual episode. And I still try to do that to this day. But sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I just be feeling it and just in a certain mode. And based off of the pregame, I'll play something that just hit me. And I already had a song playing for this episode, but in the midst of the pregame, this was the last song that I played before I started recording or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I gotta rock with this joint right here. And it's funny because I listen to Joe Budden podcast a lot, and a lot of times, not saying that Joe Budden listened to my podcast, but a lot of times, like some of his song intros be similar to mine's, and sometimes when I've taken weeks off and stuff like that, and I didn't record, he'd be playing songs that was already in my head and shit. So it's like that intro song is just that lays the foundation for a lot of the how the episode is gonna go. But I had an epic pregame, some listening, going back listening to a lot of G Unit records and stuff like that. That was a good time. Lloyd Banks, 50 Cent, Tony Yo-Yo, all of them. Yeah, so there's just an inside, behind the scenes, inside look into the how I do my podcasting and stuff like that. It's just not me just coming down here in the tasting room in my basement, sitting down, turning the board on and start recording. It's a lot of work. I put a lot of work into doing this. Shoot, I had to scramble today to get the outline together so I can record today. It's Friday. Yeah, so we about to rock. I mean, I got a good show for you. I ain't really doing too much relationship shit today. So, man, I tell you, man, I don't like doing a lot of relationship talk or whatever, because a lot of people doing it. I mean, it's value in my perspective and my opinions and stuff like that, but I just be feeling like, man, it's more important stuff to talk about than relationship shit all the time. But yeah, we here, we back for another episode. Um, I got a good episode for y'all. So let me go ahead and get into it. But first, um, shout out to all the YouTubers. Shout out to the Spotify listeners, Apple Podcast listeners, Stitcher, even though Stitcher is about to go away, Amazon Music. Um, I forgot. I don't know if there's any other spots I'm on. I need to start putting my stuff on other platforms, but it's on the main platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. So that's what's important. I ain't hard to find. I'm not hard to find. Oh man, epic pregame, like I said. So yeah, um, it was almost to the point where it was about to be a too lit too fast. For the long time listeners, y'all know that episode too lit too fast, where it was to the point where I had to stop and record like multiple times because I pregame too much. It was to the point where I even fell asleep and woke back up and had to record again. But we here, and yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It's good to record. I gotta do better. I know I gotta do better. It was at a point where it was like I was sitting back and thinking about, because this is episode 99, so the 100 episode is coming up. The 100 episode is coming up, and I was just sitting back thinking about, I recently had my 4 year anniversary back in what was that? June? I think it was June. Yeah. It was June, but yeah, I was thinking about, year two and year three, I went on a crazy run, and that's why I'm at this point right now. Because year one, I didn't record a lot of episodes because that's at that time I was still recording. The You and You podcast was still recording, so I didn't feel the need to put so much effort into, my solo personal podcast. But year two, year three, I went on a crazy run back to back. No, excuse me, burp number one. Excuse, burp number two. Damn, burp number three. Damn. Now y'all know that pregame was epic. But yeah, I went on a crazy run year two, year three, and I started slowing down at the end of year three, and now we here year four. The crazy thing about it is I already got episode 100 pretty much done. I got episode 101 pretty much done. So yeah, I'm in a place where I'm trying to get back into my mode of just moving along consistently. But next week I will not be recording. I will not be recording. So episode 100 will not be coming next week. But this is a planned break. Next week is the big fight. July 29th, Saturday, Earl Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford. So I don't want to be thinking about no recording. I just want to, enjoy this big fight with the fellas. And the week after that, episode 100 is coming. So, look out for that. I'm looking forward to it as well. So, I got a good show coming for episode 100, and I put a lot of thought into this. So, I'm excited. But we here right now, episode 99. This is a milestone as well, because it's ending, that journey, that journey, and then 100 episode, we're going to start a new journey. So I got a clip starting off this episode. So let me pull that clip up. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Dang. That epic pregame, like we only 14 minutes into the show, I already gotta go to the bathroom. Already had 3 burps back to back to back. I had a 3-peat of burps. But yeah, let me pull this clip up. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start this show off right. So let me say this before I play the clip. It's still July, and July is minority mental health month. Minority mental health month. So, you know, shout out to all the people out there that, you know, is taking care of their mental health, going to therapy. If you're not going to therapy, any type of work that you're doing to improve your mental health, any awareness that you have on your mental health, whatever, you know what I'm saying? All the people out there, therapists, social workers, shout out to all of them that's doing the work out there. A lot of the people that I follow, shout out to you because, you know what I'm saying, the work that you do is not in vain. You know, it's definitely something that is important. And one of the things that I do believe is a good thing about social media is a lot of the awareness, a lot of the information, a lot of the tips, a lot of the conversations that are being had on social media by mental health advocates such as myself, a lot of the mental health professionals that's out there as well. So shout out to you. But let's get into this clip. You know, I thought this was a good clip to start out with. I came across it a couple of days ago in the midst of me putting the show together. So let's go.
This feels.
A friend of mine put up a post that said, "The more I heal, the less ambitious I am." And it reminded me of something that Booker T. Washington said in his book, Up From Slavery. He said when he was an enslaved boy that he wasn't allowed to have gingerbread cookies and he watched the white girls eat gingerbread cookies. And he said to himself, if I ever get free, I'm going to eat some gingerbread cookies, and that's how I'm going to know I'm free. A lot of our ambitions are directly related to our traumas. You want things and status because of the way you got teased when you were young. You want things and status because of the lack that you think you have when you compare yourself to others. You want things and status because you need something outside of yourself to give you an identity. But when you start to heal, when you start to love yourself and really know who you are and tap into purpose, a lot of those things don't mean anything anymore. So I ask you this question. Why do you want the things that you want?
And hey, that's a great clip that I came across. And I talked about this like what he said, I talked about that plenty of times before on this podcast. I talk about, you know, people with the labels and the statuses and, you know what I'm saying, multiple degrees and stuff like that. And it's not me saying that there's anything wrong with people, you know, having ambitions and stuff like that. But I feel like this is a great question to ask yourself. Like, you know, why are your ambitions what they are? You know what I'm saying? Why are your goals what your goals are? Why are your dreams what your dreams are? And when I heard this video, it resonated with me and it triggered me. You know what I'm saying? It had me going back to a lot of the times when I was saying this stuff, like, and it had me thinking about my podcast and my blog and other things that I got going on or want to have going on. Why are these things important to me? Why am I doing these things? And, you know, I specifically with like the podcast and stuff like that, when I have like certain moments where, you know what I'm saying, I take breaks, or, you know what I'm saying, I've had moments where I've compared myself to other podcasts or other people doing content and stuff like that. I had to like check myself. Why am I doing this? Why do I have the desperation that I have or the urgency I have around certain things when it comes to the podcast? Is it because of my own ambitions, or is it because of things that I've gone through in my life, with dealing with depression and anxiety and how I came up, and certain things that I didn't receive from my parents, or certain, what I'm saying, things like that, what I'm saying? And I think that's what a lot of people, not even a lot of people, I think that's what everybody needs to ask themselves. It's good to have goals, ambitions, dreams, and want to experience certain things and stuff like that. But, what I'm saying, what is the urgency around it? Like, if you were in an actual peaceful place or in a secure place, would you be actually wanting to care about the things that you are trying to pursue, or the things that you're trying to show on social media and stuff like that? Like, what is the source of it? You know what I'm saying? Where is this? Is there a foundation in place that pushes you to want these things? What's the source of it? You know what I'm saying? And it made me look at, like, what I'm saying, the podcast, and like certain urgencies, and like, oh man, like, why isn't things happening like this person, or why isn't this happening fast enough, and stuff like that. And it had me sitting back and like, do you even enjoy doing the podcast anymore? Do you enjoy podcasting anymore? Like, do you really care if you get a large following, or if you sign a contract and able to get money off of the podcast? Because one of the things, like, I used to get asked all the time when I first started podcasting, are you making money off of it and stuff like that? So a lot of people was like projecting onto me, and I was receiving it and accepting it and taking on the things that they were saying, their energy and stuff like that. And it would make me question myself and make me question the podcast and stuff like that. Do I enjoy doing podcasting? Hell yeah. I enjoy podcasting. I enjoy talking. I enjoy, what I'm saying, giving my opinion on things. I enjoy sharing my experiences. I feel like podcasting has been a large I'm trying to find the right word to describe it. Podcasting has definitely played a big role in my growth of, what I'm saying, accepting myself, being more secure in myself, and just growing and evolving as a person, period. One of the things that I talk about on the podcast is social anxiety, something that I have suffered with for years. And it's something that, what I'm saying, still comes up from time to time. Although I've greatly improved and grown in that aspect of being more social and not caring about what other people think, and, what I'm saying, being more comfortable with myself and stuff like that. So podcasting has definitely played a role in it without me even understanding it at first. I'm able to speak the things that I speak, push it out there in the podcasting world. I'm more consistent and disciplined with putting out the YouTube videos, the visuals, and sharing them on social media and stuff like that without worrying about what people are going to think. And even when I do care, I still do it because I know I got to push through and get into the habit of creating a new space for myself, or a new atmosphere, or a new what's the right word? Y'all get it. I ain't trying to hold up the podcast by trying to figure out the right word, but y'all get it. But yeah, it's just like, what is the what is the source of your ambitions? Um, I one of the things that I make sure that I do is to mind my business. You know what I'm saying? I'm good at minding my business. But I see a lot of people on social media, particularly people that I actually know that I've had a relationship with, or I have a relationship with, and I see a lot of the things that they do, and by me just understanding and having personal conversations with people, I can see where like their ambitions may not be totally pure or authentic based off of conversations that I had with them and stuff like that. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get you know, having ambitions that are more external as opposed to internal. You're trying to feed the external or appease the external as opposed to, you know what I'm saying, actually it being your authentic self and stuff like that. Um, yeah. So, like I said, I had an epic pregame, 25 minutes into the show, and I already got to go to the bathroom. So, I'm going to pause it real quick, and then we're going to come back. And I'm back. So, yeah, like I was saying, just speaking on myself and my own experience, I grew up in a household where, I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard. I was put in positions where I didn't they didn't want to hear me. So you know what I'm saying, I had a certain mentality or mindset while going through depression and anxiety. You know what I'm saying, I need to be seen, I need to be heard and stuff like that. I talked about this plenty of times before, but it's like, thinking about self-worth, self-esteem and stuff like that. So it like, is your self-esteem and your self-worth or your ambitions and stuff like that tied to other people's attention and validation and praise and recognition and stuff like that? So that's one of the things that, I had to work through a lot while while I've been in therapy, and what I do outside, things that I work on outside of therapy as well. Even, I'm very self-aware of these moments when they happen. I don't always, what I'm saying, pass the test necessarily, but, I'm able to recognize it. And it's something that, I know that I'm not alone in doing. Social media has been a big player, or, played a big role in people needing to be seen and heard and stuff like that. That's why you see so many people talking about personal stuff and putting their business out there that they probably shouldn't put out there, because it's not like it's a situation where they're speaking on their experiences to help other people. They just, speaking and trying to get attention, or, having moments where they're having a quote unquote temper tantrum and stuff like that, or they're in a moment where they're not emotionally mature and stuff like that. So, we've seen it. That's why, like, I admire a lot of, because I know a lot of people who aren't on social media and don't do social media at all. I admire these people, and I've had conversations with them, and I told them before, I was like, I admire the fact that you feel the need, that you don't feel the need to be on social media and stuff like that. And they tell me, what I'm saying, they still have those type of moments and stuff like that, but it's just not on social media. And social media, you know how, man, like, you can go viral in a second with some stuff. And I'm going to talk about some of those things as well. Some of the topics, couple of the topics are tied to that as well. But we're going to revisit a topic from the last pod, and I'm going to pull that up right now. It's a clip. So I'm just going to move on to it, and, yeah, we're going to discuss it. Here we go.
Matter. My son gave me some ass. I'm my own boss and I got my own cash. I don't need a nigga, only thing I
Yes. That was Keke Palmer at a recent performance. So I'm going to play it again and listen to what she says. And I'll repeat it afterwards, just if you didn't hear it clearly.
The booties matter. My son gave me some ass. I'm my own boss and I got my own cash. I don't need a nigga, only thing I need some bag.
So this ain't verbatim. Probably is because I wasn't really paying attention to remember it verbatim, but it might be verbatim. She said her baby gave her some ass. She don't need no nigga. She got cash or a bag or some shit like that. So this is what I was saying when I was talking about on the last episode, like the disrespect. Like she's still out here, like whether purposely or not, she's still disrespecting her child's father. She's still disrespecting him. But like I was talking, she ain't never been here before. She in a position now, like this is what she even said it off of that little clip right there. Her baby gave her some ass. She don't need no nigga. She got cash or a bag or whatever. Like, so, like I was saying last episode, she's in the mindset that she ain't never been here before. She's never been in this position before. You know, Keke Palmer, like I was saying last episode, she's been in the entertainment business for a long time. Like, I don't know what her current age is. I assume she's probably in her late 20s, early 30s, probably. She's been around ever since she was a kid. And she's always been like the little kitty, awkward type person, stuff like that. So, like she said, now she had a kid. She got some ass. She got some titties and stuff like that. She getting all this attention, you know what I'm saying? Getting all the attention from the ladies, more so from the ladies than the dudes, you know what I'm saying? And now she's feeding off that energy. Like, people don't recognize how energy is contagious. Negative energy and positive energy. And like, she's on a roll right now, you know? All that situation that happened with the Usher stuff, and, you know, all the backlash that her child's father got, and all the kudos and the praise and the big ups and the recognition. And she's being seen right now. She's being seen. She's being heard in a way that she's not used to. She ain't never been here before. So she's capitalizing off of that. She's feeding off of that. Like, attention is just as much of a drug as or substance as alcohol is, or any other drug out there. Like, it's not talked about enough how much attention is a drug or a substance that people feed off on, and she's feeding off on it. You know, I heard I got some comments from the last episode, and like, some people was bent out of shape about the things that I said, and I'm like, and I've said this plenty of times on the podcast before, and I talked about it specifically on my trigger warning series. If you ain't hear that series, the trigger warning series, I think it was like 3 or 4 parts. Go back and listen to it. Like, and this is including me. I understand how things can trigger you, and you can get bent out of shape about it. You can get stressed out about it. You can get mad, angry about it. So I get it. But one thing that I do know, if it's triggering you to the point where it's getting you bent out of shape and stuff like that, that's because it might be true. It ain't even no might. It is true. Like, it's true to you. It's true in your life. You've experienced it before, or you haven't, you know what I'm saying, evolved out of that mindset before. You haven't released yourself out of that space yet. But if you getting bent out of shape off of some celebrity commentary, then that speaks a lot to some things that you need to deal with. Like, point blank and period. Like, you can be mad at me saying this and that, but I get it, because it's still things that trigger me to this day. And I'll be like, damn, why you, and I would talk to myself, I'll be like, why you tripping? Why are you tripping? Like, why is this making you so angry? Why is this getting you bent out of shape? because it, you know what I'm saying, it it's hitting me internally, and it's just crazy that, you know what I'm saying, people getting so bent out of shape about this celebrity shit. And like I said last episode, these people don't know you. They don't care about you. They If you walk past them on the street and say hello to them, they don't even care. They might speak back, they might not. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. And like celebrities are some of the biggest people who feed off of energy. You know what I'm saying? They feed off of that. And like I was saying, most women, they feed off of other women's energy. They'll feed off of it and project onto it, or project their energy on somebody else. And you know what I'm saying? That's because women are more emotional. Women need that emotional stimulation. So as long as whatever's going on in the moment is making them feel good, whether it's right or wrong, they're going to feed off of it because it's stimulating them. That's the difference between men and women. That's why you don't necessarily see a lot of dudes feeding off of other dudes, hyping them up or egging them on and stuff like that. Because most dudes, we operate from a logical standpoint. We operate from our mind first as opposed to our emotional center. Women, they operate off of their emotional center first. So that's where they're going to feed off of everything from the emotions. If it's making them feel good, if it's making them angry, you know what I'm saying? Most women, their thoughts are irrational because of emotions. It was a part in ATL, the movie ATL back in the day with T.I. and all of them. And his uncle sat him down. And he was like, this ain't verbatim, but he sat him down, basically said, you know what I'm saying? These are just feelings. What did these feelings mean right now as opposed to when you actually get over them and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? So women are going to be more irrational from the jump because they feeding off of their emotions. That's why it's a bad thing when you see dudes getting caught up into their feelings and stuff like that. Because getting wrapped up into your feelings and being irrational and all up in your emotions and stuff like that is more so a female trait or a female nature. Men are supposed to be more logical. They're supposed to be more stable in their thoughts, more disciplined in their thoughts and stuff like that. Not saying we aren't supposed to have emotions. We supposed to feel our emotions, but we aren't supposed to get wrapped up into them and let our emotions control us. So that's the difference between men and women. That's why it's always a tug of war when it comes to men and women having uncomfortable conversations and stuff like that, because women operate from their emotions and men operate from their mental, their logic. So that's why it's always, you have to be mature in those situations and actually have a productive conversation. But yeah, that clip was wild. That, you know what I'm saying, I came across that clip and she feeding off of it, you know what I'm saying? Just straight still disrespecting that man. And one thing about men, respect is like number one. Number one, respect is number one for men. We have to feel like we're respected. You know, our words, our thoughts, our leadership, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? Respect is key for men. It's key for men. But I got another clip from Keke. This is an old clip, but it's just so you can see how, you know, when she's in a more peaceful, comfortable, logical state where she's not wrapped up into her emotions, she's not being egged on or fed other people's energy and projections and stuff like that. So you can see how differently she looks at relationships and how to conduct yourself in a relationship. So pretty much this is this you this you moment. So let me pull this clip up. And let me find this Joe. All right, here we go right here.
Hey guys, I've been wanting to do a little video about this for a minute. Check the next slide or clip.
I was dating this girl, right, and we were in a fight. She was like, I just don't know how you can hurt me and not care. And I was like, that's not true. I do care. And she was like, no, you don't. And she started crying. It was that real guttural cry. Sounded like her pure life essence was in pain. That real mentally ill cry where you can tell something's not right up there. And I'm just listening. I'm like, damn, I feel nothing right now. Like nothing at all. And it was so liberating. I told her, I was like, you know what, you're right. I don't think I care. You should probably move on and find somebody else. She was like, what? She was still crying. I was like, I'm hearing you right now, and it's not doing anything for me. I don't know if I was just, pretending to care this entire time, and then I started believing.
I cut it short, but he also said that if she was the one, then he probably would have cared more. And I don't really care about, dragging whoever this man is. I really just think that that's a key important thing that I think a lot of people assume that when they find the one, that they're going to all of a sudden have these magical qualities that they never had before. If you're not compassionate, emotionally available, loving, or if you're not choosing through the act of love, because it's not a sentiment to show and give someone and be that kind of person, it's never going to happen. I mean, I honestly believe that even a baby could be a sociopath if they're never taught or shown these emotions at a young age. Like, it's something that you also learn. Yes, you can be born with it, but not everybody is. So, ultimately what I'm saying is if you don't work for it, you're never going to have it. No one is going to be able to make you have it. And if you expected them to, they're always going to lose, love.
Yeah. So you see, she was very calm in that moment, very mature in the things that she said and stuff like that. So where was that maturity and stuff like? And this is not me trying to bash her or anything like that. This is just showing you the difference of a a a, a woman being in a place where she's calm, not wrapped up into her emotions, not feeding off of other people's energy and stuff like that. How she can be rational in that moment, because what she said was very important in that clip. It doesn't matter whether the person is the one or not or whatever. Are you actually being compassionate? Are you showing empathy, being loving and stuff like that? But you see, she's in a moment where she's devolving. You know what I'm saying? That maturity is gone out the window. She getting all this attention, getting all this recognition, this praise, you know what I'm saying, feeding off of other women's insecurities and stuff like that. So you gonna run with it. And it's probably putting extra money in her pockets as well. So yeah. I'm gonna end it right there with this Keke Palmer stuff. Be mad if you want. But hey, triggers are triggers for a reason. People use the term trigger too loosely. Right? You got to understand what triggering actually means, And if you are being triggered, that is an opportunity right there for you to step back and figure out why you're being triggered. Why are you feeling the things that you're feeling outside of yourself based off of something that somebody has done, something that somebody has said, commented on, whatever. I don't, I'm still learning just as you, and that's what the pod is all about. That's what a taste to consider is all about. I'm giving you a taste of my opinions, the things that I've experienced. It's deep, but it ain't that deep to be getting bent out of shape over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want nobody coming to me trying to debate me or argue with me about some celebrity shit. Like, to me, it's stupid. And I will not entertain it because these people mean nothing to me on a personal level. This is just conversation. And you have to be able to have conversation as a mature adult. So I'm going to move on from that. We done with this Keke Palmer stuff. Unless something else happens, so I'm going to have to talk about it. Oh, man. All right. Let me move on. Let me see where I'm at. Okay. So I came across this clip, right? And this clip is about this woman that took a trip. And I thought it was interesting because of how the backlash that she received from her commentary based off of this trip. So let me pull this clip up, right? I thought this was real interesting. I thought it was very interesting. All right, let me see. Let me find it. Let me see. All right, where is that? Where is that? Okay, here we go. Here we go right here. Let me pull this up. All right, I'm gonna have to start from the beginning.
TikToker who put the
All right, let me see. Here we go right here.
every single influencer and TikToker who put the Amalfi Coast on my For You page over the last 2 months deserves jail time. Because while they showed you the gorgeous coastlines and the cute little towns, what they didn't tell you were the disclaimers. First of all, it's impossible to get here. You have to fly into Naples. Then you have to take a train from Naples to Sorrento. Then you have to stand in 90-degree weather waiting for a ferry to get on a ferry with all of your luggage. Mind you, we've been in Europe for 2 weeks. All of your luggage, lug it onto the ferry, get to Amalfi Coast, finally. Then, to get to the highest of the high points, the beautiful hotels with the gorgeous, there's no streets here. There's no cars driving. So you have to walk up 160 stairs with all of your luggage to get to the top of this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous area with these beautiful views, carry it, and then also all the power went out because the Amalfi Coast doesn't have the infrastructure to support this tourism. Oh my God.
Now, the reason why I thought this clip was interesting because I've been having this thought for a while, like for a couple of years, and the Amalfi Coast is definitely beautiful. It's definitely beautiful. But even before I even seen this video, like this is why I say it's very important to understand the words that you use. You know, we see on social media all the time people traveling and stuff like that. But there is a difference. There is a big difference between traveling and vacationing. There's a difference. Two separate words with two different definitions. I love vacationing. I love a good vacation. I love a good vacation. But I hate traveling. One, we're going to start here. One, I have an extreme anxiety about flying. Although I've flown several times, I have an extreme anxiety about flying, right? So I'm just speaking for myself right now. So I've talked about this before on the podcast. My first time ever flying, right? I was going to Orlando, Florida. And the night before I was supposed to come back, I called my parents. I was probably like 18, 19 around this time. And I went to the National Association of Broadcast Journalists convention in Orlando, Florida. So the night before I was about to come back, I called my parents, you know what I'm saying, have a conversation with them, you know, letting them know, you know, yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow or whatever like that. I'm on the phone with my parents. Particularly, I'm on the phone with my mother. My dad is in the background. My mom sits there and says to me, yeah, you heard what happened to Aaliyah? I'm like, nah, what happened to Aaliyah? She died on a plane crash. Soon as she said that, I hear my dad in the background. Woman, why you telling that boy that? I was effed up. I was effed up. Fear engulfed my whole body. Fear, anxiety engulfed my whole body. That's what I'm talking about with projections. Projections, right? So I'm sitting here like the night before. I didn't get no type of sleep the night before that flight. So I get on the plane, already scared, got that anxiety going. And what made the situation worse, the whole flight back, we were in thunderstorms. So it was nonstop turbulence, plane bouncing up in the sky, dropping. We had a couple of drops and shit, man. You talking about scared. I ain't want to get on a plane ever again. But of course, being an adult, wanting to go and have a vacation, I have to get on planes again. So I'm just tore up every time I get on the plane. Every time I get on the plane, I am scared. I am nervous. I got anxiety. No matter how long or short the flight is, I have anxiety about it. And what's crazy is like mental health and stuff like that. People don't understand anxiety. People don't understand fear. Like people think it's the weirdest thing in the world. Like I've talked to people who like travel and vacation religiously. Like they do it. It's a Bible for them. And I've had conversations with them and they told me like they have the same. I'll be like, I'm shocked that you know what I'm saying, you have that type of anxiety and that fear. You always, you know what I'm saying, going places and stuff. And they would tell me even though they've gone, you know what I'm saying, they've been on a plane so many times before that it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? So it made me feel more comfortable. But I'm just like, you know, I love a good vacation, but I hate traveling. And it's not just because of my anxiety of getting on a plane. You know what I'm saying? I've took a vacation where I've driven and, you know what I'm saying, different type forms of transportation, train, all that, you know what I'm saying, bus, whatever, cruise, whatever. I've done that before, you know, but the actual traveling part is exhausting to me. It's a turnoff to me. Like I love a good vacation, but I hate traveling. There's a difference. By the time, you know what I'm saying, once you get there to the destination, you vacation, depending on where you're going like that, you got to deal with jet lag or time difference and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's to the point where it's sometimes where you can't even really enjoy the vacation because the travel is taking so much out of you, or you anticipating the travel back home. So after watching that video, coming across that video and watching it and seeing people's comments and stuff and people just going on her and stuff like that, I just thought it was a good topic just to to talk about because like I understand where she coming from. Although I've never been to the Amalfi Coast and stuff like that, but I get it. Like traveling is exhausting. Vacation is cool, but traveling is exhausting. And it got me rewinding back to the first clip that I played with the, you know, people's ambitions, their goals and dreams and stuff like that. And I get that some people, they love traveling and vacation and stuff like that. That's cool. But, you know, it's a lot of people who will, particularly on social media, will project on you. You see it all the time on Twitter and stuff like that. People having these conversations about, you know what I'm saying, they'll try to put people down because they don't like traveling or going on vacations all the time like they do and stuff like that. And I'm just like, why are you worried about what somebody else doing? Like, if you like traveling and vacationing, just do it. Like, who cares? Like, why are you worrying about somebody else who isn't doing it? Everybody's life path, everybody's journey isn't the same as yours. So if you get a lot out of traveling and vacationing, then cool. But some people get more out of reading a book or watching a movie or, you know what I'm saying, a staycation or driving as opposed to flying or taking the train as opposed to flying or the bus and stuff like that. People just be getting so bent out of shape off of what somebody else is doing or not doing. And it baffles me. I mean, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it now because you know what I'm saying, I've grown and I've gone through therapy and I understand, you know what I'm saying, the mind differently than I used to. But I just be like, you know what I'm saying, some people, they have a fulfilling life without ever having to travel all the time or, you know what I'm saying, not having to go on the trip every year and stuff like that. But it's like, what is your motivation for you traveling all the time and posting it on social media? Like, because to me, this is just me. I know I feel like I can get when somebody's being authentic and they enjoying their travel and their vacation and stuff like that. And I can see when people just putting on the front. You could tell, well, at least me. I can tell when people are just, you know what I'm saying, they ain't never been nowhere before. Because they posting every damn second and minute of their vacation or their travel experience. You know what I'm saying? And not saying you can't do it. And not saying that I'm totally right. But you know what I'm saying? Like, just let people just live their life, man. Come on. It's just outrageous to me that people just be getting so bent out of shape about other people's experiences and stuff like that. Other people's experiences, their perceptions, the way that they look at things and stuff like that, it has value. It matters, and it's important to them. Like, you know, I'm not saying that I get it all right because, you know what I'm saying, I may overly criticize or judge people sometimes, but, you know what I'm saying, it's just, people just be doing the most. People be doing the most. Well, yeah, I thought that was an interesting clip and topic to bring up. But, hey, we're going to move into the Blackity Black Woke segment, and I'm going to start off just like this. The United States government is giving Ukraine $400 million in military aid package. So this brings the total, and I'm saying the total, y'all know what total means, $41 billion for this war that we ain't never seen no footage of, and the footage that we see is sketchy at the most, and it's just weird. The whole situation is weird. Burp number 4. Burp number 5, and I'm gonna move on from that. But it's just weird that we just, you know what I'm saying? We just champion, you know what I'm saying, the people that's in office that's you know, is just pushing this and allowing this to happen and being a sponsor for all of this. But continuing on in the Blackity Black Woke segment, I got a clip for y'all. And this clip is coming from Congresswoman Summer Lee, black Congresswoman. And she recently was questioning a DOD employee. So let me pull this clip up.
On average, does the military spend on Viagra each year?
I don't have that figure.
About 41.6 million. Do you know how many bridges in my district of Pittsburgh could be repaired with that amount? About 2. The rebuilding of the Fern Hollow Bridge, which of course collapsed the day that President Biden happened to be coming to Pittsburgh, cost about $25.3 million to rebuild. How much did the Department of Defense spend on snow crab and Alaska king crab in 2018?
I do not have that amount.
According to Open the Books, it was $2.3 million. Do you know how much the Pittsburgh City Council spends each year serving the county's unhoused population? Only $1.2 million, but they're certainly not being served Alaska king crabs. How much did the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act authorize for shipbuilding?
I do not have that particular figure. Yeah. The total amount of contract obligations in 2022 was over $400 billion.
For shipbuilding, it authorized $32.6 billion. Do you know how many school lunches that amount could provide to hungry children in America, where for the 1 in 8 children who go to school hungry, that may be the only meal they get? All of them, and then some. The school lunch program cost $28.7 billion in 2022. How much is the F-35 joint program estimated to cost the federal government to produce, operate, and sustain over its lifetime?
I believe the GAO cited that figure. I don't have it in front of me, but we can get that for you.
It's about $1.7 trillion, enough to completely eradicate student loan debt. According to the Government Accountability Office, between May 2018 and October 2022, about 1 million F-35 spare parts worth $85 million were, quote, lost, just vanished. Losing millions of dollars in assets is unacceptable.
These people that y'all champion so much, these politicians, these politicians put people in these positions and stuff like that. These Bammers are lining their pockets. They hooking their friends up with these contracts and stuff like that to get their businesses, you know what I'm saying, all this money and stuff like that. But we rather care about what Keke Palmer and her child's father is doing or not doing and shit like that. This is the type of stuff that pisses me off. This is the type of stuff that just it pisses me off. Like, we're worrying and talking about the wrong things. The wrong things. Like, in that clip, she talked about how unhoused people, homeless people, could benefit from this money that's being just thrown around like it's sunflower seeds. Like, you spitting out sunflower seeds. Like, come on now. I mean, like, school children that's going hungry. You got the infrastructure in the United States just falling apart. Like, if I was a politician, I would probably get killed. Because my goal would be, like, we talk about, we hear these politicians and stuff talk about the economy, and the economy is in a good place and stuff like that and all this other stuff. But you see homeless people, unhoused people, whatever they want to call them, you know, these new terms coming out all the time. Kids going hungry, poverty. You got cities and states in our country just looking like they're in a war zone and stuff like that. We could build our economy quick and easy. Like, seriously. Like, it is easy. It is really easy. But people are so blind and so much followers that they'll believe anything that they're being told by somebody. We can fix the economy just straight, point blank, and easy. Like, here we go right here. You got the infrastructure in the United States going downhill. It's going bad. Roads, highways, bridges, cities, all that is going bad, right? It's going bad. You got willing workers that are unemployed in this country. That if you just say, okay, we're going to build up the infrastructure in the country, roads, bridges, houses, cities, whatever, schools, we're going to build this up. Take these homeless people, these unhoused people, these unemployed people who all have skills. We take this money that be going to outrageous things to other countries, Ukraine and Viagra and snow crab legs for the military and all this other stuff. Put those resources into the infrastructure. Employ the people who are unemployed. Employ the people who are unhoused and stuff like that. That will build up the economy right there. How? Excuse me. For one, you putting money into the economy by building the infrastructure. Two, you putting money in the pockets of these unhoused and unemployed people, which in turn, they're going to spend more money. They're going to put that money that they're making back into the economy, and the economy is going to flourish that way. That's straight up easy. And I know people probably listening, going to listen and probably be like, and how you know? You ain't never experienced anything. You ain't never been no politician. You ain't never been no position of power and stuff like that. But it's just that easy. It really is just that easy. Like, you literally give people jobs, give people a skill, put money in their pockets, and it will feed the economy. It is that easy. It is really that easy. But we think it's not that easy because we'll just blindly follow what we're being told, or we don't care, or we'll get caught up into a distraction or quote unquote conspiracy theory. Like, you literally can give the money for them snow crab legs and that Viagra that they give into the military and these missing parts, put it into the economy, put that money into these people's pockets, and they're going to spend it. That's how economies are built up. Seriously. Like, it is no reason for us to be worrying about some other country who has their own thing going on, but we letting our country just go downhill. It really is that easy. It really is that easy. You're not going to convince me otherwise. It really is that easy. I'm not a genius, but I'm very intelligent. I'm very smart. And I know if you just give people jobs to build up this country, they're going to spend that money back. That's just people's nature. They're going to spend money that's in their pockets. Oh, my goodness. All right, let me play this clip right here. Let me pull this up. It's a clip that I've been holding on to for a minute, but it speaks to a lot of the things that's going on in the world today and what I've been talking about in the Blackity Black Woke segment. All right, where's that daggone clip? All right, where the hell is that damn clip? All right, here we go. And right here, this clip is from the early 70s. And it was from Clarksdale, Mississippi. And it's two sharecroppers discussing reparations and colonization in America.
To still make a living on this land. Because I just don't understand why it all belonged to the white man. So much about it I don't understand. How can he become to own something that wasn't his from the beginning? I don't know how and why. Since he didn't cultivate it all by himself, and whatever it was that causes him to be rich now, well, he didn't do that all by himself. Well, I think that he should share it. I tell you another reason why we should share some of it, because they say their people fought and died for this here land. Well, some of our people did the same thing. Our men went and fought and died for this land just as well so as they did. Once upon a time, there wasn't no machinery. And Negroes went into these lands, into these, say, woods and bayous, and they cleared away all these places. And in so many years, they worked for nothing. Simply nothing. And the rich man, white man, he gotten rich. So I figure the black man should have a chance to make a decent living.
That was the clip right there. Sorry for that interruption. But yeah, that was in the 70s. And those are sharecroppers talking. Like a couple episodes ago, I talked about how my parents were sharecroppers. My parents are in their 60s, and they were sharecroppers. Like my grandparents were sharecroppers, you know what I'm saying? So we not far removed from this. So you hear a lot of this talk about how black people are lazy and all this other stuff, so they can push their agenda for having these immigrants coming from South America and stuff like that coming in and get these jobs and this cheap labor and stuff like that. Black people aren't lazy. They just not getting the opportunities. It's a system in place that is pushing black people out of positions to actually provide for themselves. You know? Black people built this country. Black people had played the most important role in this country. And the next clip that I'm going to play speaks to that. But we're so caught up into culture, right? Now I use the quote terms for the YouTubers. They said the quote, the quote fingers. But we're forgetting the true culture of how hardworking we are. And what our true foundation is in this country. You know, we in the mindset based off of what's been told to us that we got to catch up. But we was the beginning. We was the foundation. We built the foundation of where this country is right now. So I'm gonna move on to the next clip. But it's just crazy that we forget all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? We believe in the things that we've been told. We forgetting our history. We forgetting our foundation, that we were the foundation. And we allowing ourselves to be pushed aside, as well as our history pushed aside. And we trying to prove our worth to people who stole from us, tortured us, abused us, etc., etc. But let me move on to the next clip. All right, here we go. And this clip is coming from this clip is coming from John Hope Bryant. He's a black entrepreneur, and I'll give you the rest of his bio after the clip plays.
In the world without.
Let me start this over.
Couldn't have built the biggest economy in the world without us.
Right.
It was actually built because of us.
This is true.
The largest reverse transfer of wealth, arguably in world history, in modern history, is black slavery. That's not me making an emotional statement. I'm not throwing darts.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Right.
I love math because it doesn't have an opinion.
Right.
And the fact is, we're the largest economy in the world. The fact is, the first millionaire in America came from cotton, financing it out of New York City.
Right.
And you heard he say cotton, right? So the last clip, when I played that clip, it was a video. And in the midst of them, those two sharecroppers speaking, they were picking cotton.
The fact is that black slaves were worth more than railroads. Our railroads were arguably the most valuable asset in the 19th and part of the 20th century. But blacks were worth twice that. The fact is that we worked for free for 270 some odd years. Nothing better than free labor. And the fact is that we couldn't create wealth, we couldn't create assets because we were assets. Right. Bought, trade, insured, finance, underwritten. We
couldn't create assets because we were assets. You hear what he's saying? He said that the work that black people was doing was larger than the railroads. And the railroads in the 19th and 20th century was a big economy. But black people were way more of an asset than the railroads were. You got to put this in context. Like, a lot of the stuff that we hear about our history as black Americans, Aboriginal Americans, is not the full truth. It's not like all the slavery movies and shows and documentaries that we've seen and stuff. That is half of what really went on. Because they not going to let us know the full truth of what happened. So if you were triggered and stressed and bent out of shape, angry, mad about the things that we've already seen, that doesn't compare to what really happened and what our ancestors really went through. They not going to let us know that, because then we're going to rebel. We're going to know that our worth is more than what they're telling us or what we believe it is.
literally, whether if you're a bank, if you're a finance company, if you're an insurance company, if you're a trading company, I mean, 1 out of 5 people in the world at a certain point in the 1800s were involved or connected to cotton. Well, where did cotton come from? In the world, it came from us.
Right.
Slavery was dying as an.
Cotton is indigenous to this country. A lot of the banks, J.P. Morgan and stuff like that, a lot of those banks on a lot of the stuff that's on is on Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange and stuff like that. They came to power because of slavery.
Industry until the cotton mill came along and they needed us to work it, but this perception that we were
the machines. You got all this outpouring, all this news and stuff coming out about AI and all this other stuff, artificial intelligence and stuff like that. We were the AI before AI was in existence. We were the machines before the machines were in existence. We were the free labor.
Sort of simpletons that were brought from Africa halfway around the world just because we were free labor. That's also a fallacy.
Right.
The reality is we were agricultural geniuses.
You see what he said? You heard what he said, right? You said that it wasn't a thing of us coming from Africa. That's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. We were already geniuses in the agriculture because why? Because we were already here. We already knew the crops here. We already knew what was grown here. We already knew what was valuable here because we were already here. We were already here.
No one understood land like we did.
Right.
If you had
no one understood land like we did. You just close your eyes for a moment and think about this, right? Close your eyes for a moment and think about this. Just think about the job that you're at right now, okay? Think about the job you're at right now. I hope your eyes are closed. When you came to that job that you're at right now, you had to be trained in it, right? Because you knew nothing about it. You weren't already there, right? So think about Africans. If Africans were shipped over here, how did they know how to tend to a land that they knew nothing about? How did they know about the agriculture that was here before they got here? How did the Europeans, from Spain, France, all of those other countries over in Europe, how did they know? Because they wasn't over here as well. They wasn't over here before we got over here. They wasn't over here before the Africans got over here, the quote-unquote Africans got over here, right? So how did they know about the land? If they knew about it, they would be doing it themselves, right? So how were these Europeans able to train these so-called Africans on how to tend to a land that they knew nothing about? Please tell me this. Please tell me this. It doesn't make logical sense. Take your emotions out of this situation. That's why I say close your eyes. Close your eyes. Take that sense away right now so you can just concentrate on your mind. If a people were able to be geniuses in agriculture of a land that they knew nothing about, how is that possible? You got to think about Africa and the crops that they have over there, the vegetables, fruits, and stuff like that. Some things are similar. Yes, they are. But there's a lot of stuff that is indigenous to this land that is not indigenous to Africa and vice versa. So how did they make such a profit? How did they organize this economy of sharecropping and slavery and stuff without any knowledge of what was already over here? We were already here. We were already here.
These products that require a certain soil and the environment for that soil make it hard to operate in that environment. And it's hard to re-nurture that soil to get it to work again. You need
The truth is right in front of our face, but we don't want to believe it because we rather believe what somebody else is telling us. We were already here. We already knew what was grown here. We already knew the soil. We already knew the environment. We already knew the weather over here. The weather over here is different than it is over in Africa. The soil is different over in Africa than it is over here. It was people already here before this so-called slave trade. Now, I know I'm going a little beyond some people's train of thought or their mindset, but you have to understand that the stories that we've been told are fallacies. I'm using his term at this point, fallacies. They're fallacies. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
people who understand harsh environments and who have successfully taken soil and brought it back to life.
Mm-hmm.
That's Africa.
That's Africa.
And that's Africans.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very intentional for folks to go halfway around the world.
And that's where I would disagree with this portion of his statement. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I know people are going to be turned off by the things I'm saying and stuff like that, but I've talked about this before. And this is coming from word of mouth and me doing research, my brother doing research on my family, my ancestry and stuff like that. Every black, quote unquote, black person here is not from Africa. It's just not, that's not the case. And I know that's hard for some people to believe because of the years of programming and education, quote unquote education that we've been placed upon us, but that's not the case. It's a lot of factors that play a part in this, and I don't want to go too much into it because of the pod, how the time of the pod and stuff like that. But thinking about phenotype, if you don't know what phenotype is, look it up. Use your Googles and stuff like that. There's a difference between Africans and actual quote unquote black Americans or quote unquote Negroes or quote unquote African Americans and stuff like that. The Africans will even tell you themselves that we aren't the same. That doesn't mean that we aren't distant cousins, but we aren't the same. If you look throughout history and stuff like that, you look at the Aboriginals from each and every country. Look up Aboriginals from each and every country and continent on this planet. And what would there be? Black people. Black people. Not saying that the origin may not be from Africa, but we were here before. We knew the land, we knew the crops, all that other stuff. But hey, I'm just rambling at this point. I know. Taste to consider.
Get us and bring us halfway back around the world and put us to work, but they didn't like the attitude. They didn't like couldn't have built the biggest economy in the world.
Yeah, so
without us.
Right.
And put us to work.
John Hope Bryant, sorry about that. John Hope Bryant, he's a entrepreneur, founder and CEO of Operation Hope, Promise Homes Company, and the Bryant Group Ventures. He's a best-selling author, Up From Nothing. Yeah, so that's who that clip came from. So, yeah. There will always be a difference of opinion when it comes to history and stuff like that. That's my opinion on it. That's his opinion on it. You know, everybody will have different opinions. But what I would say is choose genealogy first. Look up your genealogy. Talk to your elders in your family. It ain't no coincidence where it's always been this talk of, oh, this person must got Indian in their family and stuff like that. This just not talk. You know what I'm saying? It's context to all of that. But I'm going to move on from that because I know some people might be getting triggered or bent out of shape about it. All right, so let me pull up the next topic. Let me see. All right. So I came across this post, and it's from the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve, a non-government agency that is in charge of the interest rates and stuff. It says in the third quarter of 2022, the nation's white households had $124.5 trillion in assets as measured by the Fed. In comparison, all black households had under $8 trillion in total assets. White households held more than 80% of the nation's assets in 2022. Speaking to the fact of the systems that's been in place, the history of this country, and how we are particularly behind the 8 ball when it comes to assets, household assets. And household meaning, you know, the actual families and the wealth that they hold. And that could be stocks and bonds, real estate, such and such. But I thought it was relevant because of the clips that I played based off of the slavery facts, the last clip, and the sharecropper facts, and how we think that we got it going on, black excellence and all that other stuff like that, but we still are behind. We're so concerned about, you know what I'm saying, rubbing shoulders with the white man and, you know, proving ourselves and keeping up with the Joneses and stuff like that, but we're still far behind. This article from the Washington Times says the federal agency reported last week that 267,000 out of 300,000 workers who lost their jobs in recent months were black, reversing a trend that generally moved in the other direction the past 2 years. That was just the headline. So let me pull up the actual article. I didn't read this article in advance because I wanted to have it for the show. So let me pull up the article. It says black Americans make up 90% of unemployment surge, but labor agency hesitant to call it larger trend. So you've heard plenty, well, I ain't gonna say you heard, but I've seen plenty of press conferences from the Biden administration talking about how the economy is great and how our community and stuff is in a good place and unemployment is gone down and stuff like that. But let me just read some of the article. It says black Americans have made up nearly 90% of adults newly unemployed. And this article came out July 13th, 2023. And right now we're July 21st. So it says black Americans have made up nearly 90% of adults newly unemployed since April, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The federal agency reported last week that 267,000 of 300,000 workers who lost their jobs in recent months were black, reversing a trend generally moving in the other direction during the past 2 years. In a statement emailed Thursday to the Washington Times, the Bureau of Labor Statistics Division of Labor Force Statistics said it was too early to draw any conclusions from the data. Sure. It's getting close to election time, so sure they will say that. Quote, While the unemployment rate for blacks appears to have ticked up in the past few months, data for additional months are needed to determine if this is part of a larger term trend, end quote, the statement said. As always, we'll be looking closely at labor market performance in the coming months to determine if there are changes in trends, both overall and for major demographic groups such as blacks, end quote. Some labor market analysts reached for comment said the report confirms that widespread layoffs in the technology and service industries have hit blacks harder than other workers this year. We can't just sit here and just think this is a fucking coincidence, man. Come on. But we keep looking at it in terms of we voting for the lesser of two evils, or we so caught up into hating this person that we voting for this person, or we don't like the messenger as opposed to the message that we gonna support this person. The shit is stupid. And that's why what Malcolm X said years ago, back in the 60s, that black people are politically immature. We are politically immature. We're political chumps because we will just follow behind and just vote based off of our emotions. We'll vote based off our emotions. We're being followers to these people who don't do nothing for us. And I'm not sitting here saying that because Democrats ain't doing nothing for us that we should vote for Republicans. No, I ain't saying that. What I'm saying is we shouldn't vote for neither one of them until they start giving us the things that we need and want. So back to the article. There has been a, quote, George Floyd, end quote, effect. Let me read that again. There has been a quote, George Floyd effect, end quote, of corporations quietly purging affirmative action hires made in response to social justice protests, said Eugene Dillon, a California-based business consultant specializing in equity, inclusion, and diversion. He said Floyd's 2020 death in Minneapolis police custody led to corporate commitments to implement affirmative action policies. Those hiring commitments have rapidly evaporated with fears of a looming recession. Quote, while millions of black Americans were hired, the efforts often stopped there, end quote. Mr. Dillon said in an email, quote, there was a failure to create a welcoming environment or allocate resources for the in-depth work required to bring about systematic change. Consequently, when the economy became unstable, these individuals were seen as expendable, resulting in them being the first to lose their jobs, end quote. Big tech companies have terminated positions responsible for ensuring racially diverse workforces. Apple, Google, Facebook parent company Meta have laid off tens of thousands of workers this year. Tech layoffs have fueled a 33% turnover rate for equity, inclusion, and diversity employees compared with 21% of other workers, a study from Revelio Labs found this year. Microsoft announced last week that it would cut 276 employees in its home state of Washington, adding to 10,000 layoffs announced in January. So what that's saying to me is that black people are the first to be let go. And I have experienced this. When I've been working as a federal contractor for years, since 2001. It's 2023. So, at one point when I was a federal contractor, I had two jobs at that time, two federal contracting jobs. My full-time job was a federal contractor. That was my full-time job. I was working for, I was a federal contractor for a government agency. I'm not going to give all of the information for security reasons, but I had a part-time job as well as a federal contractor. And that part-time job, I was doing maintenance and cleanup work, right? So that part-time job, I had that part-time job actually before I actually had the full-time job. I was working a part-time job in my early years of my undergrad. It was just a part-time job. I was working in the evening in a federal building where I was doing maintenance work and cleanup work and stuff like that. So I eventually left that part-time job when I got my full-time job while I was continuing going in my undergrad. So when I was in the process of getting my townhouse, since I had a relationship and I was still working in that actual federal building, I was able to get that part-time job again so I can get some extra money for my down payment and stuff like that. So at that part-time job, since it was maintenance and cleanup and stuff like that, majority of the staff was Black and Hispanic people or Latino people. So when I was back at that part-time job, excuse me, burp number 7 or 8 or 9, they started doing layoffs again. So since I had left and came back, I lost my seniority. So when they had to start doing layoffs, the first people who were being laid off were the Black people. And the managers that was in place of that part-time job were Hispanic and Latino. So they were looking out for their people, and they were letting go the Black people. Like, I even got to the point where I went and did a EEOC complaint against them, and we went through this whole process because I felt as though that me being laid off was racially motivated. Went through the whole process and stuff like that. They offered me a certain amount of money, and I didn't want to take that money because I felt as though that me taking that money would just been letting that go. So I didn't take the money, and I ended up not winning my EEOC case. Hindsight, I still wouldn't have took the money. I still would have went through the whole process of fighting it because just based off of what I read to you in the article, all this stuff will always be racially motivated. And the times that we live in now with more and more of Hispanics and Latinos coming over in this country, they're going to give them first dibs on a lot of the job positions and stuff like that, because that is a extra base for the Democratic or the Liberal Party, right? So I ended up not winning my EEOC case and all that other stuff, but I was glad that I went through the process or whatever, because by them just offering me the money proved that I was right in filing that claim and stuff like that. They knew they was wrong. But this just speaks to, it says the unemployment rate rose to 4.6 last month for Hispanics. The Asian American rate was 3.2. It says, according to the federal report, Blacks face a 6% unemployment rate in June, about twice that of 3.1% rate for whites. Blacks traditionally have had double the unemployment rate of whites in Bureau of Labor Statistics data. And what's key about that is a lot of the Hispanics and Latinos that come over here, they don't identify as Hispanics or Latinos. They identify as white people. So I'm going to end it right there with this topic, because what I want to do with this podcast, and that's why it's called A Taste to Consider, I want you to consider everything that I bring up. I want you to actually take time to use your critical thinking skills, use your research skills, because we all got research skills to this day when it comes to our cell phones. You can just go on Google. Use your Googles. Come on now. But yeah, this is the country we live in. This is what is going on right now. You know what I'm saying? We get so caught up into these distractions with this quote unquote black culture and shit that we got going on, that we're severely behind the 8 ball, and then when it comes to the last minute, we're scrambling and we really don't have no leverage. We don't have no status quo. And this comes from even with what I talked about with the affirmative action stuff or whatever. We complaining about all this stuff at the last minute, but we can't really do nothing because we wasn't paying attention when we were supposed to pay attention. And that's why we gotta watch out for a lot of these celebrities and stuff like that we follow, because they're part of the system. They're part of the plan. It may be a conspiracy theory to a lot of people, but a lot of these celebrities and stuff like that so starved for attention and money and stuff like that they're part of the game right there. They part of the scheme. You know what I'm saying? That's why when even going back years, you see Puffy talking about some voter die and all that other stuff like that. This is a campaign for them to rub their shoulders or get incentives and stuff like that. They wasn't looking out for our best interest, because if they was, it wouldn't be no voter die. It would be reparations or die. Build up our communities or die. Feed the homeless or die. Get better schools and resources or die. Come on now. But I know y'all ain't trying to hear me. All right. Let me move on from that Federal Reserve post and the unemployment post. Let me see right here. Let me talk about this real quick. Article I came across a while ago, so I thought to bring it up because it was relevant. Black people, this is a CNN article. It came out July 17, 2023. Black people in redline neighborhoods face higher risk of heart failure. Black adults living in zip codes historically impacted by redlining have an 8% higher risk of developing heart failure than black adults in non-redline areas. A study published Monday in the American Heart Association's scientific journal Circulation says, during the early 20th century, U.S. banks routinely engaged in a racist lending practice known as redlining, which denied loans and insurance to people of color seeking to purchase houses outside of undesirable areas of cities. The practice began in the 1930s, amplifying segregation, and was eventually banned in the late 19th scientific journal Circulation says. During the early 20th century, U.S. banks routinely engaged in a racist lending practice known as redlining, which denied loans and insurance to people of color seeking to purchase houses outside of undesirable areas of cities. The practice began in the 1930s, amplifying segregation, and was eventually banned in the late 19th scientific journal Circulation says. During the early 20th century, U.S. banks routinely engaged in a racist lending practice known as redlining, which denied loans and insurance to people of color seeking to purchase houses outside of undesirable areas of cities. The practice began in the 1930s, amplifying segregation, and was eventually banned in the late 19th scientific journal Circulation says. During the early 20th century, U.S. banks routinely engaged in a racist lending practice known as redlining, which denied loans and insurance to communities, end quote. Study co-author Dr. Sharia Ryo, a cardiologist and assistant professor in the Department of Internal Medicine at the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio, said in a statement. Researchers analyzed data on more than 2.3 million residents who were enrolled in Medicare between 2014 and 2019 by linking it with residential zip codes across the U.S. The analysis included 801,452 participants who identified as black adults and nearly 1.6 million participants who self-identified as non-Hispanic white adults. You see what I was saying earlier about Hispanics and Latinos identifying as white people, and you see identified as non-Hispanic. See what I'm saying? All this stuff correlates with each other. Unlike black adults, the study found that white adults living in communities with a high proportion of redlining did not have a higher risk of heart failure. Quote, these findings show us the harm that discriminatory and racist housing policies have had on generations of black adults and suggests the long-term impact of such policies on cardiovascular health disparities, end quote, said Dr. Ambarish Pandey, another co-author and assistant professor in the Department of Internal Medicine at UT Southwestern Medical Center. So I'm gonna stop there. It's a long article, and the title of the article is "Black People in Redline Neighborhoods Face Higher Risk of Heart Failure." So, what I find interesting about this article, okay, I live in a black, a quote unquote black neighborhood, townhouse neighborhood. I live in a townhouse. The neighborhood is full of townhouses, right? So, the street outside of the neighborhood, you have tons of fast food restaurants and liquor stores. You got Wendy's, McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, Checkers, Bojangles, Subway, Lido's, Wingstop. We got every fast food, Taco Bell. We got every fast food restaurant on this one street across from my neighborhood, other than Chick-fil-A. Even got Chipotle. A grocery store around here just closed last Sunday. Lidl, whatever you want to pronounce it, Lidl. Grocery store. The grocery stores that we have around here is Safeway, Aldi, and Save-A-Lot. That's it. And we got a Target. They got some groceries in there. But other than that, that's my neighborhood. I live in a black neighborhood. This neighborhood is in Prince George's County. Prince George's County is the largest and most richest black county in the country, in the United States. I live in Oxon Hill, Maryland. I grew up in a couple of parts of Prince George's County, Capitol Heights. I lived in Suitland as a little kid, lived in Capitol Heights, and moved to Largo. Largo is like a affluent black city in Prince George's County. My parents still live there to this day. Middle class, upper middle class. And it's different from Largo to where I'm living at now. It's different from Largo to Capitol Heights and Suitland or whatever, as far as the grocery stores and fast food places and stuff like that. Largo, you have some fast food places. Largo, like I said, is middle class, upper middle class. So it's different than where I live now. Oxon Hill is a little bit more of a black community as well as a Hispanic community. So down this one street, Oxon Hill Road, all those fast food restaurants and liquor stores, right? So this is what that article is really speaking to, right? So, and this is across the United States. When you think about poor, low class, black communities, or lower middle class, or maybe in the middle class, that's how the community is. A lot of fast food, a lot of liquor stores, tobacco stores. It's a lot of tobacco stores around here. So that redlining is part of the system, part of the white supremacy system, you know? So this is by design. They want us to be in bad health. I live in the quote unquote suburbs of the DC area, the DMV area. So if I drive across the bridge to Northern Virginia, the grocery stores and stuff are different. You got Wegmans, you got shit. I don't even know the name of the grocery stores because I don't even shop at them. Wegmans, what's the other joint? Damn, the joint that started with a the grocery stores are different. I don't even know. We don't have no Walmarts in my area. The Walmart is across the bridge. Shit, what is that damn grocery store that started with a T? It's gonna it's gonna irk me. Grocery. Grocery store. I'm trying to look it up right now. Uh, Damn, I can't think of it. Let me open up Instacart and see, cause I gotta get this right. Yeah. Um, you got the Wegmans in the nice areas in Virginia, Northern Virginia, and stuff like that. Harris Teeters, in the nice parts of Virginia, in the nice parts of DC. What else? Um, y'all get the point though. But around here, we got the Dollar Trees, the Dollar Generals, and the Aldis, the Save-A-Lots. We got that one Safeway. Before the Little or the Lidl, it was a Shoppers Food Warehouse. Some people that don't live in this area that's listening or watching don't know what a Shoppers is, but it was more of a discount grocery store and stuff like that. So, like I said, the Little or the Lidl went out of business. They went out of business because people wasn't shopping there. People in this area more fixed on, what I'm saying, going to the discount places and stuff like that. So yeah, this article about the black people in redline neighborhoods face higher risk of heart failure is by design. You know what I'm saying? All these fast food restaurants, all the liquor stores, the tobacco is bad health. You know what I'm saying? Even if we got a good grocery store around here, majority of the people wouldn't shop there because they will look at it like it's too expensive, or they don't understand the value of shopping and getting better quality produce and stuff like that. So we're set up for failure. We're just straight set up for failure. Like this is by design, straight by design. But let me move on. This was a topic that I thought was interesting. Here we go. This is China is editing Bible passages. They are purposely editing Bible passages. They're rewriting the Bible and other sacred texts like the Quran and stuff like that because they don't want the influence of America infiltrating their country. Yeah, so let me play this clip.
All right, now, all through this year, China has been scrutinized and criticized by the international community for detention of Muslims. But that has not deterred Xi Jinping. He now wants to rewrite the Bible and the Quran. You heard that right. China makes everything, and that includes religious texts. China publishes the highest number of copies of the Bible, and now it wants to edit them as well.
And you heard what he said. I know it's hard to understand him because of his accents, but he said China produces the highest number of the Bible, the highest number of copies of the Bible.
Now, you could call this censorship of religious texts. You could call this meddling in religious affairs. China plans to do it. The reports say that China wants to translate religious books. Government censors will go through them, and anything undesirable, anything that does not conform to the communist ideology, believe it or not.
So they're trying to keep a certain ideology in place. So they're editing religious texts so that won't happen. And my thing is, like, this is something that I feel as though has been commonplace. Like, I feel as though this is something that has gone on before we were even born or thought of, our parents were born. Like, I feel like this is something that has gone on for centuries. Like, I feel it, like, I understand people are, into their religion, indebted in their religion, focused on their religion. I'm saying a whole bunch of different adjectives or words to describe it. I know people are into their religion. But we got to be careful about the interpretation of the religion and what is being given to us. And this is what I'm talking about as far as, just following along with what is given to us and not paying attention to it and believing everything that's being told to us. This shows you right here that people do this. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important. Like, I don't want to get all religious and stuff up in here. It's important to have your own relationship with God, whoever that God is to you. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing. Like, we known this. Like, even just going back to the clip about the slavery or whatever, and how they interpreted the Bible in order to enslave our ancestors or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I had to point this out because this is the times we live in right now. Like, even the sacredness of religion and spirituality is off the table. They fiddling with that. They changing that. Talk about pronouns, gender wars, LGBTQ stuff, or body, autonomy and stuff like that. People are playing with everything. And it's like, so what are your values? What are your morals? Who do you believe in? Who do you follow? Like, these are questions that we have to ask ourselves.
Will also be edited out of the religious texts. China calls this a religious system with Chinese characteristics. Reports say that a group of 16 experts has been appointed for this purpose, that the order to edit religious...
We just don't know what the hell this country is going to be in the next couple of years. We don't know what this world is going to be in the next couple of years, because people are fiddling with it based on their own their individual ideals or how they want to control people. Like, it's a Denzel Washington movie that, if you haven't seen it, you should see it, because it shows you, it talks about the importance of religion and religious texts. And that movie is called The Book of Eli. And in that movie, The Book of Eli, the villain, the antagonist in it, who Gary Oldman played, great actor, he was searching. The time period in this movie was post-apocalyptic. That's what a lot of movies these days are, which is probably a sign of what's to come. But I digress. But in that movie, he's searching for a book, and he got his minions going out searching for this book, and that book is the Bible. He wants to find the Bible because he knows how powerful the Bible is and how people will follow behind that book, that power, those religious texts. And the only Bible that's in existence in this movie is held by Denzel Washington. For the people who haven't seen, I'm not going to give you all the spoilers of the movie, but they cross paths with each other, and there's a conflict because of this book and the power of it. And Gary Oldman, who's the villain, the antagonist in the movie, he wants to create a new world, a new civilization, but he knows that he can't do that unless he has the power of that religious text. But Denzel Washington holds the key, and they're battling for that power. But Denzel Washington knows the power of the book, but he wants it to be used in a different way than Gary Oldman, the villain, the antagonist, wants to use it in. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. But we see how important religion is and how powerful it can be, but people are playing with it. People are using it for their own agendas and stuff like that. And we have to, and it ain't even no thing that we have to assume. We know that this has been done throughout time. Like I've referenced already with the slavery and how the slave masters and stuff like that use the Bible for their purposes to defend or use slavery for their own good. But I'm going to leave off with this last portion of the Blackity Black Woke segment. And this is just a shout out to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving donates $40,000 to 93-year-old fighting developers over land owned by family since Civil War. That's the title of it. I know it's kind of all over the place, but it says South Carolina's Josephine Wright filed a countersuit against Bailey Point Investment LLC, accusing the company of harassing and intimidation in an attempt to force her into selling her property. Let me see. I want to make sure I get the important things of the article. It says Wright has called the 1.8-acre Hilton Head property home for 30 years after she and her husband retired, according to USA Today. She has lived alone since 1998 when her husband passed away. In 2014, Bailey Investment LLC bought all the land around Wright's property. The company attempted to buy her plot a few years ago with a lowball offer of $39,000, but she declined. Over the past year, Bailey Point has become a nuisance to Wright as they work on a 147 home subdivision. Wright claims her car and home were covered in dust after trees were cut down. The tires of her vehicle were flattened and a snake was once found hanging from her window. The company filed a lawsuit against Wright in February, claiming her screened-in porch, shed, and satellite dish encroached on its property. Bailey Point is seeking just and adequate compensation for its losses, inconveniences, aggravation, unnecessary expenditures of time and efforts, and disruptions, end quote. Wright filed a countersuit accusing Bailey Point of deploying, quote, a consistent and constant barrage of tactics of intimidation, harassment, trespass to include this litigation in an effort to force her to sell her property, end quote. Quote, Wright has been deprived of the peaceful enjoyment of her property. Her property has been damaged and she has been threatened, end quote. Her suit reads. Tyler Perry shared Wright's story on Instagram in June and offered up any assistance he can provide, writing, quote, please tell where to show up and what you need to help you fight, end quote. Under his post, Meek Mill commented, quote, corporate bullying at its finest, this superhero status, end quote. Whatever that means. But yeah, so just shout out to Kyrie Irving, Tyler Perry, Meek Mill, all the people who are getting involved in this situation. And this is what I'm talking about. We get so caught up into this bullshit with this celebrity stuff and these distractions and Beyonce and all this other stuff. I ain't trying to be calling out Beyonce, but I'm just saying, like, come on, people. There's stuff out here that's really going on that we are just forgetting about. And I'm over the two-hour mark right now, but y'all got 2 weeks to listen to this episode, so I ain't trying to hear no excuses. So I'm going to end it off with this topic right here. This topic has been just totally taking over the quote-unquote black culture or black social media, and that's the Carlee Russell incident where she was allegedly abducted. So I'm gonna end off with this, and I knew about this incident last episode, but I didn't want to comment on it because I was like, let me just sit and wait and just let stuff, settle before I comment, and I'm glad I did. So here's a clip that I'm going to play in reference to the Carlee Russell incident.
What up, Nurse Gang? What up, TikTok? So, the update I never wanted to truly have to report on. So, we've all been talking about the Carlee Russell case. This is her Instagram, Carlee. Over the last few days, she shocked the nation. And black women all over the country felt empowered. We felt finally pleased that America was caring about black women. Every national news outlet was reporting about Carlee Russell. This is the first time this has ever happened. The hunt was on to find this black girl. But then when she showed up at our house, it got a little greasy. Why did it get a little greasy? Because she just showed up. So then that's when the world got divided. Wait, what's going on? Something is not right here. Okay, we don't want to speak. We want our privacy. Something is going on. What is going on? Well, when you start talking about something, people start DMing you the truth. It looks like 50 people from Hoover have already got fired for leaking what's really going on with this case, and it's trickled into my DM. So you mean to tell me all this was because she was trying to get back at her ex-man? Yeah, that boyfriend that spoke out about her being kidnapped and held and tortured, yeah, that was her ex-man, and he actually cheated on her with a stripper, and Carlee had it out with the stripper, and to get back at him, yeah, she disappeared herself and then got afraid when it blew up. This is what Carlee said to the side chick. Itch, please. He told me everything you said about me and you thought I told him to say that. I wasn't even with him. You're delusional AF if you think y'all little conversation was anything more than convenience and the fact that he used you to get back at me out of anger. You want to talk about I don't compare to you on your worst day? Girl, bye. You're miserable, or at least should be, being a stripper to provide for a child I've heard you've had from multiple people. So not surprised you don't know who your baby daddy is. Mention me or contact my NIGGA again, and you'll see I'm not the one to play with. You don't want you and your whole family touched. You're poor. I'm rich. You're a stripper. I'm a nurse. You're ugly. I'm beautiful. You could never. You're the bottom of the barrel. Someone from the police department just could not watch us all suffer. So they released these details. Here's the update. She's sticking to the story that she was abducted. She says she was lured into the woods by some people who live in the woods, described as a person with orange hair, balding on top, tied her up and drove her around and put her in an 18-wheeler and fed her cheeses for 2 days, and they painted her nails. They kept her on 150 somewhere, and somehow she managed to get away and run through the woods to her neighborhood until she got into her house and then goes into the hospital. Hoover got some Ring doorbell footage from her neighborhood, and it just shows her walking casually until she gets close to her house, and then she starts sprinting and flailing arms and acting a fool. She got caught stealing from work that day, failed out of nursing school, and has been on drugs. She had her friend behind her, and that's who picked her up. She was with her friend all weekend. The police knew she was safe because she unblocked her ex while she was quote-unquote abducted. She planned to disappear and realized it wasn't going to work.
All right, well, I'm going to say this. From jump, I thought the story was sketchy, but it's too many black women and children that have been abducted and still missing to this day that I didn't want to jump towards to not believing the incident, but it did sound sketchy. And it's unfortunate that if all of this is true, is really true, because there's so many black women out here that are still missing to this day, that they didn't get this type of coverage and still aren't getting this type of coverage, black women and black children. And it's very disheartening, it's very discouraging, it makes you angry, because I definitely feel as though that all this stuff with sex trafficking and stuff is true, and particularly with black women being missing and stuff, I feel, what I'm saying? I feel that all this stuff is true. And to have somebody use that for whatever reason that they, have is unfortunate. A lot of information is still coming out. But, yeah. It's unfortunate. Hoover police revealed Carlee Russell's cell phone search history before abduction. And this is where a lot of the stuff gets really sketchy and discouraging. It says Hoover PD, before the disappearance, Carlee Russell's search history read, quote, taking money from a register without being, quote, caught, end quote. Quote, one-way bus ticket, end quote. Quote, do you have to pay for an Amber Alert, end quote. The film, quote, taken, end quote. And, quote, how to take money from a register without being, quote, caught, end quote. So here's the press conference. Here's a couple of clips from the press conference that the Hoover police did.
During the statement, she told detectives that while traveling down the interstate, she saw a baby walking down the side of the road and called 911. She stated when she got out of her vehicle to check on the child, a man came out of the trees and mumbled that he was checking on the baby. She claimed that the man then picked her up and she screamed. She stated he then made her go over a fence. She claims he then forced her into a car, and the next thing she remembers is being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. She stated that the male was with a female. However, she never saw the female, only hearing her voice. She also told detectives she could hear a baby crying. She told detectives the male had orange hair with a big bald spot on the back. She said she was able to escape the 18-wheeler and fled on foot, only to be captured again and then was put in a car. She claimed she was then blindfolded but was not tied up because the captor said they did not want to leave impressions on her wrists. She said that they took her into a...
Yeah, that's just weird. What she said, the captors didn't want to leave impressions on her wrist. Like, it's too much explanation going on right there. But moving on.
Giving her time to rest. Detectives continue analyzing data from Carlee's cell phone that was left behind at the scene. We enlisted the help of the United States Secret Service in conducting this analysis. Part of what data included several internet searches in the days leading up to their disappearance that I think are very relevant to this case. On July 11th at 7:30 a.m., the term, "Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert?" was searched. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term, "How to take money from a register without being caught," was searched. On July 13th at 2:13 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term Birmingham bus station was searched. On July 13th, 2:35 a.m., a search for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville was conducted with a departure date of July 13th. On July 13th at 12:10 p.m., a search for the movie Taken, a film about abduction, was conducted. There were 2 searches related to Amber Alerts on a computer at Carlee's place of employment, including one regarding the maximum age of an Amber Alert. There were other searches on Carlee's phone that appeared to shed some light on her mindset, but out of respect for her privacy.
Out of respect for her privacy. There's other searches out of respect for her privacy that they didn't want to reveal.
And made her get undressed. She believes they took pictures of her, but she does not remember them having any physical or sexual contact.
You don't remember.
She stated the next day she woke up and was fed cheese crackers by the female. She said the woman also played with her hair, but could not remember anything else. At some point, she was put back in a vehicle she claims was able to escape while it was in the West Hoover area. She told detectives she ran through lots of woods until she came out near her residence. During this interview, detectives noted that Carlee had a small injury to her lip, and she claimed that her head was hurting. She also had a tear in her shirt. Detectives also noted that she had $107 cash in her right sock. Out of respect for Carlee and her family, detectives did not press for additional information in this interview and made plans to speak with her in detail after.
Yeah, so this is a lot of the information is sketchy as hell. And like I said, it's very unfortunate because of the many missing black women and children that is out here still to this day for this situation to happen. And you have this we've never seen this type of coverage over a missing black woman before. And for it to turn out to be fake, which we don't know for sure yet, but it's looking like that's what it is. And it was an emotional situation for her, if you want to believe the situation from the first clip with her boyfriend and all that other stuff. But let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves. We've all been in situations where we've either experienced it from another source or we've been the person who actually been so wrapped up into our emotions where we've done some irrational things to get the attention of our ex or the person that we're in a relationship with or our family or something like that. Shoot, we've seen it in movies. Like the first thing that's coming to my mind right now is Thin Line Between Love and Hate, when Ma ain't want to be with Lynn Whitfield no more. She started beating herself in the face with that orange in the sock, and she ended up in the hospital and all that other stuff. We know these things can happen. Seriously, we know these things can happen. I know it's a lot of people who were defending her from jump, and I get that. I understand that. And, and I'm not sitting here saying that I was defending from jump, but I was emotionally involved into the situation, because I'm looking at okay, we're finally in a situation now where there's a missing or an abducted black woman, and it's getting the coverage that it deserved. But for it to turn out to be fake or having all these sketchy information, it's just putting us back in the same situation where we've been from, where they ain't gonna give a fuck about no black woman or no black child or whatever being abducted or missing. It's sad, you know what I'm saying? And this speaks to a lot of the things I talk about is Minority Mental Health Month and people's emotional immaturity and stuff like that, and people not knowing how to understand or control their emotions and stuff like this, and being in irrational or desperate situation, putting themselves in irrational or desperate situations in order to be seen or to be heard or whatever. So it sucks that, you know what I'm saying, this is all turning out to be fake, but at the same time, being a mental health advocate, I'm sitting here she need help. She need help. And this is further evidence that a lot of us in the black community need mental. We need help mentally. We need to start having more conversations about mental health and the importance of it, and getting more mentally mature and stuff like that, and just figuring out, how to actually handle our emotions when we're in situations that we aren't used to. I mean, this stuff is getting out of hand. This situation is getting out of hand. And it's almost to the point where why now? Why now, and why this situation after all the black women who have gone missing and been abducted, and children and stuff like that? That why this situation got so much attention as opposed to the other ones? What can we do? What can we learn from this situation, so when some other black woman or black child or black man is missing or abducted, what can we do to make it that every time we are presented with this situation, whether it's a lie or not, that we can pull together and get this type of attention, so that, you know what I'm saying, these situations can be resolved? But it's just an unfortunate situation, man. And I hate that this is happening, but I mean, what can you do? I'm going to end it here. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. Make sure you download Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music, YouTube. You like, share, all that good stuff. This is episode 99. Episode 100 will be coming 2 weeks from now. I will not be recording next week. So this episode went over the 2-hour mark. You got 2 weeks to listen to this episode. Make sure you support me. Taste to Consider Network on Instagram. It's tied to my main page. Like, share, comment, download the YouTube, subscribe, all that other good stuff. Excuse me, burp number 9 or 10. Make sure you keep supporting me, keep listening. I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate the commentary, the comments, the DMs, and all that other stuff. Continue to bring that to me, you know what I'm saying? Whether you agree with me or not, you know what I'm saying? Holler at me. And the episode 100 episode is coming, and I'm excited about it. I hope you're all ready for it. You know what I'm saying? I got a good show ready. I appreciate all y'all. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. I am out of here. Now I gotta go find something to eat. It's about to be 10 o'clock. Damn, Chipotle closed.